Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Blue?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Mr. Moraro?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
Before we approve the agenda, I have item number 9. And we can just look at this if you want to change the date of the next meeting, which is what?
July 3rd.
July 3rd. With that added, do I have approval of the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda with the additional changes.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Blue?
Yes. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of June 1st, 2023. Do you have any questions? If not, I need a motion.
I motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 1st, 2023.
Support.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Budget workshop, June 13th, 2023.
I motion we approve the minutes of the budget workshop of June 13th, 2023.
Support.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Move on to approval of manifest 2023-12. Scott, did you have any questions?
One correction. It says regular meeting of June 1st, it should say regular meeting of June 5th.
What do you want me to do with that?
We'll make a motion. Change it to June 5th.
Jeff, can you change that motion, please?
Yeah, I motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 5th, 2023.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Now we'll move on to the manifest. Brett, did you have anything?
I have nothing.
Jeff?
None for tonight, but I think we had some outstanding ones from last time, right?
We'll get to that after. Do
None.
you have any? And I have none, so do you want to answer the questions from last time?
Yeah, I did put them in the executive memo that's on your table, but
That the taxpayers don't get that.
so the questions on, was it the Marion Park dumpsters you asked about, the
Yes.
613? So that was, we were charged twice for that. So the actual rate is $237.22. We have one 6-yard dumpster, but there's also a fuel surcharge monthly of $115. So that total monthly is $352.35.
But that is a credit that we will receive.
We received that, yeah. We received the, we received the credit of $352. It was not $613. It should have been $352.35.
Good
If it's
catch.
something maybe we can look into the future of the items help it all a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
since it's.
You asked about the GoTech contract. We don't have an official contract. It seems that we're more on a month-to-month, but we also, they do have their invoice is broken down to every service they provide on that monthly basis and a specific cost to that service, and that invoice is also on your desk there.
I would like us to bid that out this year. I don't know the rest of the, that's just my personal opinion. Put an RFP together for services down here, and I don't know if I'm real comfortable with a $40,000+ a year expense that we really don't have tight scope on.
Anyone else?
Yeah, it's been a while since it's been over bid. I mean, it's more.
If you have any service for that more money,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be prudent to see what else is out there.
Yeah,
It's every 2 to 3 years. I
Yeah,
think.
you're not doing a bad job.
That's
Right.
right.
You don't know if you got jobs.
Right.
I believe that was all the main first questions.
Thanks.
We'll move on to public comment. Anyone in the audience?
We got a motion to pay that.
Oh, I'm trying to rush through that. I'm sorry, guys. Do I have a motion on the manifest 2023-12?
I make a motion to approve manifest 2023-12 in the amount of $193,371.51.
Support.
Mrs. Drew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
We'll move on to public comment. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person.
I'm on an agenda item. Do you want me to wait? Or you want me to just go
Which,
ahead?
is it,
It is the Christ oil.
we'll have you come up during,
In a minute? Okay.
Thanks.
and anyway, she can come up during that, right?
It's a public hearing.
Yeah, so she can come up. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on agenda item only shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. Okay. You can come up during the public hearing.
Yeah, we do have a public hearing on your topic, so that will be open to everybody as well.
Sure. The nice young lady.
All of them.
Good evening. I'm Steve Polich. I'm an attorney from Iron River. I represent Christ Oil. This is Ron Groth. Ron is the gentleman with a knee replacement sitting beside me. He's the engineer for Christ Oil. We're here hoping to answer any questions or public comment or concerns that you may have concerning our request for a zoning amendment to your present zoning to allow for, as a conditional use, gasoline sales, diesel sales on the US 2 corridor. As you all know, US 2 corridor is commonly used as a convenience store, diesel and gasoline sales locations throughout the US 2 corridor in almost every city in the UP and village and town. We presented at your planning board, and they went through the criteria and recommended the amendment, and we hope that you will allow the amendment to the ordinance. Of course, the amendment proposal comes via our request to the city, but it is not specific to Christ Oil's proposal. If you pass the amendment, we will then be required to appear back before the planning board and request a conditional permit to use, and they will at that point review our total plans and impose, if they wish, any conditions that they would have related to the proposed use. So I think, I don't know if you all have them, but Dan was provided with the plans along the way and recently with updated ones. And so if you have any questions or concerns or public has
We'll let
any,
you know when we go into the public hearing.
we would try to answer any questions you have.
Okay. And you can also speak if you want during the public hearing.
Oh, so we're, okay,
Yeah.
very good. I'm just gonna say a few things.
Okay, not right now, you gotta wait till we go into
Oh,
that.
okay.
Now we'll move on to appointments and announcements, public hearing. Do I have a motion to go into, public hearing?
Make a motion to go into public hearing, Christ Oil zoning ordinance language change request.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Okay, do you wanna start, Dan?
Sure, actually, Grant, do you want me to go through all the explanation of the public hearing, or do you want to leave that for the audience and have us go into the discussion portion?
I think, well, I'm supposed to hit this, I suppose. I think if you just kind of gave a quick general overview of how this process would work, maybe set the table, and then let council run with it for a little bit, and hear from any audience members that have any input, thoughts, and allow then council to continue the discussion.
So, as I stated, Chris Doyle approached me about the diesel fuel station, and currently that would not be a allowable use as they are in the B2, and the B2 fuel stations in general are not permissible. So Chris Doyle and the other gasoline station on the other side of town are existing non-conforming. They discussed what they had did previously in like 2007 to get this change, and they were going for a zoning district change. They wanted to be changed from B2 to B3. This time around, we discussed it. I said, changing to B3 would be probably wouldn't be the most appropriate approach, since it would be spot zoning because there's no contiguous B3s to that property. The other route would be a zoning language change to allow fuel stations in the B2. So we had a public hearing at Planning Commission to hear the request to allow for gasoline fuel stations in the B2. Planning Commission went through the review process, and you see in the memo, we kind of follow the questions, the 1 through 4, 1 through 6, 5, to evaluate the pros and cons. So in the memo, I discussed what they should be asking about, and then kind of what the Planning Commission determined for each one. This Planning Commission compared to the previous one, they found a difference in number 3, I believe, where they felt most of the concerns could be addressed through a conditional use, where the previous ones did not. They felt there wasn't enough there to warrant a zoning change. However, that was a district, this is a language. So Planning Commission did motion to recommend a change in the B2 to allow for gasoline fuel stations on lots 10,000 square feet or greater as a conditional use, which is the same language we have in the B3 and B4 zoning districts. The one caveat they made was to allow it only if it also lied within the highway overlay district. The reasoning for that is because the highway overlay district kept it to the US 2 corridor, because there are some B2 parcels outside of the US 2 corridor, and they felt that would not be the appropriate location, kind of in the Main Street area. Whether those properties would meet 10,000 square feet or not, they wanted to stay away from that possibility. A potential simplification for that is if council so chose to allow it, is to allow it in the B2 on the US corridor opposed to in the highway overlay district. That way, if we ever do have rezoning of some areas, like on Highway 8, that is also an overlay district, but an R1. So if any of that turned into B2, then it potentially could be allowed to have gasoline fuel stations. So it may be better just to make it on the US 2 corridor. As far as this conversation tonight, yes, this is brought to you by Chris Doyle. They're the catalyst for us. They are recommending this or requesting this, but this is a general discussion of changing this for all of B2. So when you look at their site plan and things like that, that type of discussion and scrutiny would take place at a planning commission level for approval. So really, we should try to focus on it. It's just, do we want to allow gasoline fuel stations, new ones on B2, and or if you allow it to make the current existing non-conforming would now become a conforming.
I have a couple questions. My first question, did they consider how big trucks are gonna get in and out of there, especially with residential on the back side and on the other
Yep.
side?
So that was discussed, Chris scheduled a meeting with the, county, the corridor commissioner through the county to discuss entry onto US 2. I wasn't present for that meeting. I did speak to the MDOT representative who said they suggested some different scenarios of how to alleviate some of those, and they were going to send me a report, but I don't believe I actually ended up getting that report. But something like that, so if you were to approve allowing that language in the B2, something like the semi-truck accessibility, that would be a determining factor at a conditional use hearing through the planning commission. If they looked at that and said, we see a major problem, we do not think it's feasible, that could be a reason to deny that conditional use. Granted, and correct me if I'm wrong, that may be, again, conditional uses are not necessarily there to deny, it's to place conditions, but if that is if it's dangerous and they want to put a condition to make it work better and that condition could not be met, that could be a reason.
And you know why I'm asking that, because even though it's going to the planning commission, I gotta look out for our citizens who live here too.
Yep.
How about smell?
So that was part of their overall discussion, and I think that's the possible effects that would result in this, and that's where the planning commission felt the things of that nature could be resolved through the conditional use process by putting special conditions on to alleviate those types of concerns.
Because that would be all diesel fuel?
That island, I believe.
Would that be all diesel fuel?
Yes, yes.
And we discussed that night. I kept pushing on just to think about certain types of conditions, and they concluded that they felt they could find a way to alleviate those concerns through the site plan review, which is where you would try to look at possible conditions like that and then try to come up with a solution to alleviate them.
Well, you can't pass this without looking at that. And this would also change for everybody.
Ken, if I may, yeah, in the spirit what Kenny brought up, I'm concerned that Saginaw Street's not ready for semi trucks to pull in and out of, I don't believe. And also that alley between Saginaw and the congestion of the alley that's already being used for an entry, exit for the existing press facility. You know, how does that, what's the plan to have that all, make sense and not really congest? I mean, USA, it's a nightmare ready to come in and off of right now with the station there, right? You're without a light there, right?
Yeah, it was nice when the light
Now we're
was
gonna
there.
take the alley and turn it into that. That three, you're gonna be 3 deep there on that side of US 2, with even more congestion. So I'm just wondering what's the plan to, I don't know. I don't know how we get past that.
Yeah, and I think what Dan's saying is, that's not a decision that we're making here tonight. We're being asked to to rezone, not rezone, but to amend the zoning to be a conditional use. And so if those conditions aren't met,
It's certainly
A no
yes.
can-
I mean, that's the basis of this, is adding a use to a zone. And then if that.
Conditional use.
Conditional, if you so chose, yeah, conditional would be the more appropriate in this case. So, they're requesting a change to allow a specific use, and if council decided to allow that through a conditional use, then the next step would be they would go to planning commission with their site planning. Planning commission should start asking those questions of turning and ability. But again, if you make it a conditional use, even that, it still certainly makes it, it's not, again, conditional uses are not there simply to deny, it's there to put the conditions on it that are appropriate to meet the safety of that surrounding.
But also for us to think of that, we need them answers because
This is homework, guys, is what we're giving you. I mean, if you're gonna wanna get the final stages approved, these are big concerns of ours.
Yeah, and if, I don't know if it's time for us to talk, but
You
if
can.
you do want that good review with everyone, then that meeting we did have.
You can come up if you want, unless your leg's too bad.
Oh, no, I can.
My question is for, they came in 2007,
I believe,
okay, how many times before that did it come to a board?
I think when I saw it was only 2007, and I think I had
Before, there was another one before that too.
There
before
was one
2007.
before that.
Because I lived right
Yeah.
there.
The last one, yeah, the last one was 2007.
And nothing changed.
Conditions from, no, I don't think conditions, the property, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think since, I know that Steve brought this up, since 2007, there's a lot more personal vehicles that are diesel. You know, so that the number of that type of vehicle has increased quite a bit. But back to the MDOT meeting, so they were very much happy that we brought it up to them to review it with them first. They did give us quite a few recommendations. One was to set our entrance back on the side street that connects to US 2. That'd be to the west of our project.
Saginaw.
Yep, there you go. So that makes more sense for vehicle 2 straighten up to US 2 before they enter and leave. Also to actually shorten some of our entrances down to 50 feet. Again, that makes vehicles more properly ready to leave instead of being, otherwise they kind of diagonally lazy leave a site. They agreed with all of our turning radiuses that we have, which is part of the packet that you have. So that all that was acceptable to them.
So you do have EV stations in here, I see.
Yep, I was just ready to let you know about that. Yep, we're kind of
There's
happy.
3 of them,
Yep,
I believe.
yep, we're kind of happy and excited. This is going to be the first station that we do have the EV charging stations. So we're working with Power Up Michigan. They have a pretty nice program going.
We have, just so you know, we
Yep,
will be the first one, because
Right.
we have our own.
First one's their stations.
yeah.
Yeah, but you'll be, but obviously be hooking on our part of that. You'll be hooking to our power, correct?
Yeah, yes, yeah. And we're gonna do the 150 kW, so it's gonna be the higher superchargers. So that's,
And then my other question is, it came before the council 2 other times. What did you change this time from the other time that you guys brought it to us?
well, definitely the EV charging stations, they didn't exist then.
But I'm talking about
Yep, and,
the
well,
zoning and,
yeah,
yeah, the property expansion, how you're gonna come in and out. What are the differences from what you presented last time?
on Saginaw Street, having that further to the south, so a bigger island of, like I had mentioned before, that there's more room for the semis or any other vehicle to square up to the US 2. More green space. We've added green space actually on the existing property of the Crest Oil station. That should help with maybe a little bit of beautification to the area too.
Is that about it? Or is there more?
It's basically the same concept that they would like to offer diesel sales to the area. The property already is being used as semis are using it routinely as a way of parking and, yep, there you go.
When we were over, it was late April, to the planning board meeting, I mentioned that almost every time I drive by there, there's already semis using our lot. They get in there, they get out of there, pretty much uncontrolled. They used it. And this was some photos that we took on the way out that evening. Those are semis that are using it now, the way it's configured, which isn't the best in the traffic pattern, but you can see they're using them. And this would improve that traffic pattern that they're choosing to use without regard to whether they have to
But you
be
s-
there or not.
You still would have more traffic coming in and out, obviously, than
Well,
what's here, because you're gonna have,
Yeah,
we hope so.
yeah.
it would be controlled. Also in the packet, it was the same as 2007, a nice fence to help with making a separation between the residential area and our property.
Is anybody talking about any type of light there then on any of on the intersection, or what's the story? Do you think the traffic pattern's gonna be fine, or do you think they're gonna approve it as is?
MDOT did not bring that up. It is a good point that, I don't know if MDOT has done traffic studies, and I think it's probably a separate point to the whole issue.
I'd say that
But-
for council, one thing to think about is a broader part of this, again, the B2, so if you look in your packet, if you look at the brown, so B2, so if we're talking about B2 on the US 2 highway corridor, I guess a question to ask is, one, do you guys want to see any new gasoline stations on those properties in that corridor, or do you want to see any of the two existing expand? Because if you're not interested in any more gasoline stations in that, on those B2, on that US 2 corridor, and you don't want to see more expansion because you don't want it in that B2, then you don't change it. If you're interested in any new gas stations in that US 2 corridor in B2, or allow any of these two to expand, then you would consider it. But if you don't want anything more in that B2, what they want to do.
Personally, I totally understand that. I just have some questions that, for me to get the yes on this, I need to understand traffic patterns and things like that, right? I mean, we're always looking for progress in this city. We want more tax base. Obviously, EV stations are a nice addition to this proposal versus the last couple of proposals. Can't even make a point about smell. I like the landscaping with the fence and the trees, but I think at the end of the day, if people can't get in and out of there, and we have a cluster from US 8 intersection to the alley, so-called alley, or that, there, and then Saginaw, I want to get the yes in this thing, but to me, it's not big.
Well, I think,
Also throwing more tanks in the ground, by residential.
Correct.
yeah, we already do have one satellite diesel pump there, which is tight to the building. That's not optimum, of course, but I do think too, if this other site, leaving it as is kind of looks like a blight condition. It's not the most attractive blank parking lot. But if we set it to use as the satellite diesel station, that would be away from the Highway 8 intersection. So the larger trucks they wouldn't be trying to exit right onto that same intersection. So they would be that block away. So
I totally understand that.
Okay.
But as a long-time citizen of Norway, right now, US 8's bad enough sometimes. You get,
Sure.
When you're coming off of 8 onto 2, there's quite a bit of congestion there, especially if you're trying to turn left. And then with trucks here spinning back out, across traffic, or coming this way with traffic, it again it's just going to be more congested.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying it's anything. I'm just saying that's a concern.
Right. Yeah.
I lived on that corner for 15 years, and I know what it's like, and you're adding more.
That's why I brought up the light.
Sure. Okay. Well, in general, we're not trying to create the world's biggest truck stop.
No.
But traffic, naturally will increase somewhat. But I don't think it's going to be extremely a large amount.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks for the opportunity. Yep.
Did you get his name and address?
I was just gonna ask, what was your name?
It's Ron. Last name's Grove. G-R-O-T. Yes. Okay.
Good luck with the new round.
Yep. Thank you.
Name and address.
Hi, I'm Sherry Worry. I live at 625 Saginaw Street. Nearly 25 years ago, my family and I moved to Norway. About 8 months later, we woke up to a house being demolished across the street. This led to some talk around town and the information that Chris had bought the property and was putting in diesel pumps right out front of my newly purchased home. The city manager at the time was trying to push it through quietly, however, word got out. We soon found out that most of the community was against this invasion of our family neighborhood. At the time, my 5-year-old son's school bus stopped right out front of our house. After the unified support received from the community and this place was packed, the project was denied. The city manager resigned and our neighborhood was saved with the exception of the idling trucks that keep many of us up at night for the past 20+ years with no regards for the families close by. Now we find out it's happening again via a small ad in the Daily News. I ask what has changed. Still no need. They have one diesel fuel pump there, and it's also available at the BP gas station. So it isn't a need. Now, not only one school bus stops on Saginaw Street to pick up and drop off kids, but 2 buses pick up and drop off my neighbor's kids. There's the logistics of how trucks will get in and out. They already drive through my yard from time to time as they try to maneuver the turn into the empty lot. Trucks ran over a fire hydrant that was located on the corner, so they moved it. They took down the directional signs numerous times along with the stop sign. There's also a young family that lives in the house right next to the empty lot that will suffer the added noise and fuel fumes that will certainly affect their well-being. I'm not trying to fight everyone's battle here. I just see that common sense shows that this move will lower the value of our homes and any potential resale value. Will we be compensated somehow? Will our city taxes be lowered accordingly? Looking at the downtown area, it's evident that an effort is being made to beautify our city. I just don't see how this plan is in line with that. I also believe the trucks should not be allowed to park on that lot in a residential area. I get that you're changing the zone, you changed the zoning, but I feel that that should have never happened without notifying the neighbors who are being directly affected by this. Now, it originally happened in 2000, if I'm not correct, because we moved here in '99 in the summer. It was the next spring that happened. My family's raised, you know, we're looking at maybe retiring in the next 10 years. You know, I'm thinking about people around me. And we could all take a field trip right now over and you can see where there's a big groove. Those trucks take that corner, sometimes even worse. We've had trucks up into the boulevard, digging big holes that we had to fill in. A lot of the stuff you mentioned, it is not feasible. I don't see how it's feasible. And I think of that single mother with her little girl that goes to our school and what that's going to do for her life. Can she play in her backyard? And I don't know about the fence and I don't know the zoning of that, but boy, it's hard to get a fence in this town, so I don't know why. I don't know where they're going to put the fence, but it's going to block something, you know, because even with the mobile station there, sometimes cars there, it's hard to get in and out of our alley, and we can't park on our street during the winter. And I've almost gotten hit several times just because cars will park right up next to the highway. So I ask you to just, if you guys don't put this through, it's dead in the water now. But if you go ahead and change this zoning, you're gonna hurt the BP guy who's been here forever. You're going to hurt the neighbors, the direct neighbors. And next time when you come to do the next step, I will go around and canvass the neighborhood like I did 20 years ago. And we did, if people were waiting outside. Sorry, I got to think about the families. And, you know, when we moved to the area, we had 3 choices. And everybody said, move to Norway, it's the best. And you know what? My kids are all successful. They've been through the school, graduates, off to college. This was a good family community. I worked at Eblings for a while. I see a lot of faces from there. I don't work there anymore, but we got to save this town. Progress is fine, but progress with, let's make it work for the families, because if the families leave, then nobody's going to need to have a gas station there. And we do have plenty, so thank you, sorry. This was 3 minutes, so I know I'm very over.
You're fine.
So if anybody ever wants to ask me questions, I'm welcome.
What's your address?
It's 625 Saginaw Street.
Thank you.
And I will say that at the beginning, the trucks were not allowed to park there, but after you call the cops 20, 30 times, and they come out, and all they can do is make them turn off their idling trucks. So,
I think the good news with this one is that goes away. There will be no parking there.
right, that's the only upside to it is that they won't be able to park there, but yet they get to drive through my front yard. So what do I want? You know, and we just got 2 new trees. We waited a long time for them, and they just got planted there, but those trees, they're not gonna hold up to a semi. And my husband's a truck driver, just so you know, so I'm not opposed to truck drivers. I just think that they don't belong in a residential area, and that's still residential, and there's families right there. And a lot of little kids on that block too.
Thank you.
Not just the old crazy lady.
The only thing I would address from a notification standpoint, if this was to go through, to her point about the neighbors being notified, a conditional use, all the neighbors within 300 feet before that part would happen would be notified. So they would, for this, be notified in the paper as a broad B2, because this is a B2 change, but if it did move to approve a conditional use, then if they did the conditional use, then the neighbors would be specifically notified for the use. But her concerns would be kind of precisely what the intent would be for the conditional use process.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't make this as so just going forward, I don't have an actual resolution to change this ordinance. I was looking at this as a first public hearing for a discussion point, and then if council has any intention moving forward, we would have another meeting with the physical ordinance change.
Go ahead.
I think everybody gets this, including the young lady that spoke, but the people that are parking there now, the truck drivers that park there, are doing so against Chris Doyle's wishes. It's an uncontrollable situation. We really have nothing to do with that. And as far as the traffic pattern is concerned, it'll be improved. MDOT will tell us exactly what they need, and your planning board will add to that if they wish to add to that, and we'll see if we can meet those conditions. But the traffic concerns are legitimate, and we are concerned with it as well, and we intend to meet the requirements of MDOT and of your planning board if the project is approved by the planning board. But apparently there's nothing we can successfully do about the vehicles that are parked there now.
Can't you post that private property or anything?
Well, we have, like she mentioned, we've reported it to the police as well. It doesn't.
Have you seen any private signs there? No parking?
It just doesn't work. And we wish it did, but it's the way it is. Like I showed you in those pictures, we drove away from this meeting in April, and those vehicles were parked there like that. So this would improve that situation as well as make the access legal.
Thanks.
Thank you. On the pictures you gave us, I don't see any private property, no parking signs.
I don't know if they show there or not. I didn't examine it for that.
Yeah, there's nothing visible in these pictures that anybody would know that it's private.
Going forward too, with the
Do you wanna look
conditional
at that,
use,
Jeff?
with the conditional use we would be asking for, we would definitely, no overnight parking, definitely signage and everything else we can do to stop that from happening.
But you haven't done it yet? You don't know?
The history of this, I do not know.
Do we have any more questions? Anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? You have anything to add?
I guess the only one, we're looking for a level of direction if council's interested in us bringing this back with either a physical ordinance change, or again, if the use is something you guys want to see expand or have new in that B2 zoning section at all, or?
So Seth, we can comment? No, we can comment, because we're not voting on anything.
What, wait, no,
We're still,
we're still in public hearing.
Oh, okay.
So we can't really say anything that we can go into discussion about items. So we can't give you direction right now.
Yeah, it's been as we go forward. Yep.
So if we have nothing else, do I have a motion to go back into regular session?
We have one more.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I gotta close this one to open the other one. So I need a motion
Wait, going
to
up.
close.
Motion to close the public hearing. Support. For Chris Doyle. Oh, for Chris. Motion to support. Motion, we close the public hearing for Chris Doyle zoning ordinance language change request. Support.
Mr. Benjamin?
Yes.
Mr. Morado?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Drew?
No, I'll go back in. I'll do the public hearing, get them done with.
Mrs. Drew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to go back in, go into another public hearing for fiscal year 2023-24 operating and improvement budget, property tax millage.
I make a motion to open public hearing for fiscal year 2023 operating capital improvement budgets, property tax, and property tax millage rates.
Support.
Mr. Morado?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Drew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Benjamin?
Yes.
Start?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our public hearing for the budget. We've had 4 or so workshops to start going through this. We do have resolutions this evening that you could approve it if you would like to. There have been a few changes along the way. A couple that we could approve tonight that has been the same since the last couple of workshops is general fund has been the same since the last several workshops. The resolution for the major street and local street transfer hasn't changed, and the pay rate for non-union employees has not changed. The only one that really we left not completely figured out was the cable, and that was primarily due to rates. At our last workshop, we discussed the communication fund, and that fund is currently was at a $200,000 or so dollar deficit in that fund. The primary reason for that was the cable fund now has to pay for their own pension, which is about $116,000 a year that they were previously paying out of that fund. And based on the use of broadband over this last year, those expenses have gone up. So we figure about $100,000 in additional costs for broadband use. So you have $216,000 new expenses that really kind of threw that budget out. At that workshop, we discussed a couple of options, including changing the city rates for basic and extended to match the township, so a small increase, and then adding the customer support fee of $10 that would then eliminate 3 other fees that we charge when we do service calls, change of service, things of that nature.
Quick question. Just for clarification, so we pulled 116,000 out of somewhere and stuck in a cable for pension liability. And we did the same thing, I think, like 32,000 in refuse.
Yep.
So that's 148 grand in savings from other funds, correct?
The electric department was paying the cable, and general fund was picking up.
Okay, so that does reflect both bonuses to both those funds, as far as liabilities going into 23, 24.
Not to those funds, yeah. General fund doesn't have that liability anymore.
And
Because
electric
refuse,
doesn't
we
have
looked at a separate,
Yep.
separated the electric doesn't have it. So, leaving that committee, or that workshop, we discussed different rates in here. What's in here is showing a $5 increase in basic and extended for both city and township. That generates a little under 50,000, so the budget in here, you'll still see a deficit of 150 or so.
Yeah, it's nowhere near.
No. There's also, we have a sheet showing all the possible cable rates to get to that level, and it does start to get extreme from a 1-year increase.
I thought we talked about the higher, on the video side, I thought we talked about higher increase.
We did, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it wasn't, no, we're still,
Still on.
not.
You would have to increase it around 20 or so more per month. The reason why the customer support fee worked better is because it was spread out amongst all customers, where the increases here is just for cable, so it's fewer customers that you're looking at. So, and part of that customer support fee, outside of doing customer service that we currently charge that we won't, it is also so that if we have improvements and things like that, we start to build the ability to make those improvements. But as we went into this, the question was, this budget for this year was trying to keep it just kind of afloat as we discuss the future of the system.
I know this is hard, but again, the customer support fee. So you've got some people with AAA, right, which is video, sometimes 2 different tiers of video. You have phone, VoIP, and you have data. So now you're gonna take your data customers and whack them with $10. And they're gonna pay that same $10 that somebody with 3 times the services is gonna pay the same thing and call it a support fee. It's not fair, sorry. So either tier it or do it in rates. Because the problem we have in cable is the video packages. They're going through the roof all the time. People want TV, they have to pay for it.
Because we have to pay
Because
for
we
it.
have to pay for it. It's that simple. The rest shouldn't, the data folks, I'm not saying there shouldn't be some kind of service fee, but I do not see how somebody with 3 services in their home pays the same for service as somebody with 1.
Yeah, and you look at the cost of increases, internet, the broadband is 100,000 of that, so there's also looking at the internet rates. The feeling there was internet rates are already higher than your typical in the market. Where
Correct.
cable, we think, is still considered low. It's hard to judge that apples to apples based on our lineup compared to others, but it certainly is the cable rates. And it does have to go quite a bit to make up that difference, and if you make up that difference, that is simply to break even. That doesn't put anything away for long-term capital and things of that nature. So, at some point,
Where was, you had the sheet in there with the
it
rate,
should be attached to the
and what each rate.
communication rate.
I feel like a lawyer, very paperwork.
It should be, if you find the communication in there, it should be the last page. So it looks like this. looks like that. You find your,
Yeah, in the back.
it's in, it's here.
Not this one, not the one, not this one.
No.
Let me see.
There it is.
Yeah, but you have one with all the different rates on it, what we would be at. Do we get that?
The little red tab. Yep, little red tab, those are good news.
Should be quick.
Should be right there. Yours is missing.
Red tab.
Oh,
It's the one with the red tab, guys.
She might be looking for something else.
I might have put yours in a different spot.
See red tab, see Kenny's red
Yeah.
tab right there. Or just under, well, up a little bit, Ken.
Oh, yeah,
there
here
it
it
is.
is. All right.
Kenny's red tab, you know, the blockers.
So in this, you'll see your current rates, and then the first one on the left side column is our 5 and 5. That shows you what that generates. And then we have multiple different increases and what that generates. And even at a 19 and 22 increase over what we currently have, you get about 188.
I mean, I hate raising things, but I mean, we're paying more, so we have to pass it on. That's our physical, you know.
Right, I mean, and, you know, the thing with, when you look at this budget, you look at your expenditures, you know, there's no capital in this. There is nothing extraordinary to say we could remove. It's 1.5 employees and, you know, previous employees for pension liabilities and your sub fees. And some costs for basic.
Yeah, but so just to be clear, for the public, cable is not in dire straits, okay? Cable is the second biggest revenue producer in the city.
The fund in general,
The fund in general, correct. And it is the second biggest supplier to the general fund, which is the true problem. Okay? $286,000 is coming out of cable this year to go to the general fund and support fire, police, which is all needed. I'm not saying none of that's not needed. I just want to make sure the folks hear that. The problem is, it's a technology piece, right? And to keep technology up, you have to at some point have capital there so we can do the necessary fixes to the system and provide these services. Yeah, we're rocking a hard place.
I mean, this budget, if it didn't have those new expenses, yeah, you'd be 216 starting positive. But we have these new expenses.
And I believe them started in January.
The new expense, well, the MERS, the MERS came about after the current budget was approved after our budget, and then we decided that, you know, some of the funds were not appropriately paying for their long-term liability. The extra 100 for broadband, that was just based on what we were seeing monthly, and it was increasing quite a bit every month. And I reached out to Astria to clarify what if that was just pure bandwidth being used, and they confirmed that those extra costs was just because the community is using more bandwidth. So the communication fund, which is cable, internet, and phone, that is the one fund that we have not really come down on what action council wants to take on a rate. Let's see this.
How much behind are we right now?
Year to date.
Yeah.
Year to date, we're not behind, but we won't know exactly. We're about 14,000 positive year to date, with a month or so of more revenues coming in, but we think we still have another month or so of sub fees. So we won't know exactly where we end up for a month or so. But you're still, because this current budget is being charged the MERS. So there's 100,000 right now that wasn't planned. So your 14,000 looked a little better, but that didn't happen.
How quickly could we do a cost analysis on what it's gonna cost to upgrade our system versus what the charges are gonna be? Risk versus reward.
It's not that tough. Not if we work with our partners. They know their system well.
You know what I mean?
We can get some ballparks anyways.
At least then we would maybe have better direction.
You wanna know if what rates we have to raise it to match what infrastructure we wanna do?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a conversation, I don't know, I mean, right now, you're just trying to balance like I said, I think the approach here was trying to balance it the best we can to keep it afloat until we
Till we
decide.
make that
We
decision.
balance it now, and then in October we come back and say, hey, we need 20 more, let's balance it again. I would rather know that now.
Because that's what's gonna happen. If you wanna get capital built up in it to do what needs to be done, that's exactly what you're gonna have to, that's exactly what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to pull it out of a different fund.
I understand we need to get this balanced, I do understand.
Correct.
However, I'm not gonna ask for a rate increase now, and then ask for another one in October. Agreed.
Right,
But we still have a problem that
We
we're
do,
paying.
we have to
paying
solve
them.
our problem, absolutely.
Right.
But I think that we need more numbers,
'Cause-
hard numbers, to say, okay, then we have a month worth left, and then the city's gotta decide what to do with the system.
Or are you talking about getting a price on capital?
Well, we need infrastructure as well.
Yeah.
I think that might be where we're throwing a curveball. You know,
Is it worth it? You know what I mean? Is the rate increase gonna get us any better?
what I see a fundamental issue here is we're the middleman.
Yeah. Yeah, at one time, we didn't.
Yeah, we've got the conduit, okay, but they're gonna charge us whatever they're gonna charge us, and our customers are also gonna have lots of other options. We're the middleman. All we're doing is taking it from Astria or whoever, all these different companies, and passing it along to
Yeah, because
our
we're not
customers,
taking
who
anything.
have tons of other people courting them.
so
Turn on the TV, right?
what,
So, I would say,
And at one time, we did have a,
that's never gonna stop.
800,000 at one time, we had an estimate from Ray for the upgrades. I don't know what they are now, they're probably double or tripled because everything that we're buying is double or triple, just like,
I can answer a couple of those questions. So I do have a path forward for the Keto department.
hey, Scott, one second, just because what we've been talking about with this for the last several meetings was that our approach was to get a budget that would just get us through, and then come July, we'd start discussing the proposals that came in and our path
I'm
forward.
okay with that, other than the 116,000 that came up in the last 3 days.
No, that's been there.
But this last increase, it was not talked about in our,
Yes, we had this there.
you guys just came up,
No, this was at the last workshop. That's why we were discussing all
Yeah,
those
remember?
rates.
you just got to tell us that 5 wasn't enough and that we needed more.
Because we were at 10 for the support and an increase to balance this budget. And that's when you guys said you didn't want to do the 10 and to discuss other higher rates. This budget, this shows just a $5 increase to get us closer than we were before. The workshop, we had no rate increase and discussing rate increases, and we were 200 plus under. And at that meeting, we discussed just trying to find a way to keep it afloat because we didn't want to discuss capital stuff right now because we didn't know the direction we were going to go. And then come July, we're going to discuss the 2 options and our path forward that discusses how to get there and that cost. These rates are going to have to increase several times over the next years, a lot, just to maintain.
and we just, at that budget, or at that meeting, remember we talked about going from 106 to 110 for now, until we, we
Yeah,
got
that's why
a
we
big
have this
decision to
sheet.
make. We got a big decision to make. But you can't let it, my feeling is you can't let it go till
I thought we discussed,
then.
I thought thought we talked about actually went to 106 and 120 after the fact, because the video was so much more expensive,
Yeah.
that's what the cost is there.
Yeah, because that's why we did this, to show you a bunch of
We
different
wanted, we did want to do a service, a service support. fee.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what, we built in 5 after that meeting just to show a increase and what that would look like. And then we gave this sheet
And,
to
yeah,
show you.
and that sheet was what we were waiting for to decide what we were gonna
Right.
do, because you guys didn't have the numbers and you were gonna run
Right.
them for us.
And you didn't want to do the across the board support fee.
Correct. For the reasons I spoke
Yes.
about earlier.
So, I mean, we were planning to do all the long-term investment discussion, but
But I feel you're paying about.
This is just not the way I understood it last time.
All right, does anybody else have anything else? So at this point too, you're asking us to pass the budget coming down. Oh, I forgot about that. Did you guys have anything else before I have a motion
do
to
you want to
vote?
go for any of the other stuff besides communications in the public hearing?
I don't have anything else, cause that was the only one that was in limbo. And I was
Yeah, that
waiting
was
on
the only
numbers.
one that we hadn't really.
Did anybody else?
Yeah. But it comes to item
Yeah.
discussing things.
So you good? Is that how you want to use of them
And if we have anybody in the public that has anything that they would like to come up and say, you have a voice here.
You got a couple of ranges, you can make a circus, let's do it.
No? Sure, nobody in the public wants to speak?
I make a motion, we want to public hearing.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Magee?
Yes.
Mr. Morano?
Yes.
I need a motion to go back into regular session.
Make a motion, to go back into regular session.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Magee?
Yes.
Mr. Morano?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
The Chris Doyle zoning ordinance language change. Do we need more time on that? Or somebody,
Can we discuss now, Brian? Yeah, I think, I understand what Dan's asking. Do we want to basically we want to take this to phase 2 with planning commission, Chris, so we can see some final plans on what this looks like. This by no means is a DOT approved plans. Yeah, correct. By no means is this a yes to this, final yes to their proposal. Is that
but you
what you're
are
asking?
changing the zoning though, don't forget.
Hey,
that.
I'm
For all
more-
of B2, correct?
I'm more looking for the discussion, and I guess to start with, again, just the B2 zone, and is the B2 zone in general to start something that you guys are interested? Because if you add it in the language, yeah, Chris Doyle then could have the opportunity to do their expansion, but if there was another property that was big enough in the
They could
B2,
come
that
to.
could also be, so part of this is just, what do we want to see in that B2 in general? If we want to see fuel stations added into the B2 or allow the current ones the ability to expand, whether through conditional or not. And then the larger question of just specifically their development, it's a tough predicament for council, because I understand it's coming from a specific ask and development that affects an entire district, and it's hard to separate that.
It's conditional, so yes or no, at the end of the day, correct?
You're probably gonna see more people come.
Right. But we still have final say, and it says it's
You,
conditional use.
the planning commission has that.
No, we don't.
The planning commission does?
Unless, I have to read it, Planning Commission reviews and approves or denies the conditional, or the conditional use, which is the site plan review.
We don't get that.
Right, now, there can be an appeal from the petitioner if it's denied, but generally speaking, the Planning Commission would have the ability to approve that site plan through conditional use. So then you would then be relying on the Planning Commission to make the appropriate decision and conditions to meet the audience's concerns, the neighbors' concerns on that. So it's a,
And when you're doing it, you really take whoever wants it or whatever out of the equation. Do you want to change the zoning ordinance? And that would be for everybody
in that B2.
in that B2.
And again,
It's on the highway corridor.
yeah, I would suggest that.
I lived in Florida the last 2 times I came up, and nothing has changed property-wise, it's still same 1 square footage, so in my opinion, I'm not even over going to changing the zoning. I'm not gonna get hold to it.
I think I am gonna vote for it, because I don't know what else.
Well, you don't have to.
It's piqued my interest, I don't know what else could be there, I'd like to see the final plan.
Well, is there a motion on the floor?
Well, this Councilman Pop offered his opinion, so I figured it was an offer mine.
And I don't have a resolution to actually, I didn't expect him to actually make the resolution to actually amend the ordinance yet. This was just the first step in a conversation.
And we don't have to vote on it tonight.
Yeah. So Mr. Stolpen, are you asking us, like, for some direction possibly with you and Attorney Carlson to draft language?
I mean, the draft language would be quite simple, because all we're doing is adding the type of use to the B2, and if it's a conditional, then it would be, adding if you follow the.
Main Street's we have B2 on Main Street?
Yeah.
So you're saying, so we can put a gas station?
No,
on
no,
Main Street?
it's a highway.
On the highway corridor, okay.
That's why
That's why I keep saying only have the US 2.
That's why they chose it is only if it also was in the highway overlay district, because that covered on US 2. But the better scenario would be just to say the US 2 corridor in case something on 8 ever became a B2 where it's mostly residential, and that could pose a problem.
So do you guys want to just talk about, that's,
Yeah, the hard part for you guys is
Well, we know what the hard part is.
what you're trying to do is decide whether to add that language to the zoning, and if you do, then the next step is taken away from you from reviewing the planning commission's site plan and approving or denying that conditional use.
Doesn't it goes to the planning commission, or does it come back to the council again?
Now, planning commission approves the site plan for those conditional
Okay,
uses.
all right.
So then our residents don't get a say whatsoever?
No,
yeah, you do at the planning
Yeah,
commission.
you would get a letter, everyone within
Everyone.
300 feet or so would get a letter in the mail that the applicant has filed for a conditional use for that use, and then,
But last time we stopped this, we came here.
You stopped at this level then, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think it was,
It was in 2000.
so at that time they were trying to change they rezoned the parcel from a B2 to a B3. So that sort of zoning change would start with council, and once that change is made to allow something, then it would go to the planning commission for that to approve or deny a specific use in the site plan.
So it's my understanding, if you guys approve that zoning change, then that's it for us?
No.
No.
No. So if council approves to add gasoline stations to the B2 district, then the next step for Crest Oil, they would submit to me a site plan for their diesel fuel stations. That site plan would then go to planning commission. And because it's a conditional use, we would send out notifications to everyone who lives within 300 feet of that property that there is going to be a public hearing for a conditional use permit for Chris Doyle. And then the planning commission would hear from the public their thoughts and concerns, and if they felt those concerns were warranted, they could put conditions on that development to try to eliminate or lessen the negative conditions that the surrounding areas were concerned about.
But they wouldn't stop it.
If those conditions could not be met, they could, as long as they were reasonable. But I've always, I always preface conditional uses, those are not there simply to deny something. So it's, you gotta be careful of what you put in there, because it doesn't mean it will 100%.
Can we clarify something? B2, I mean, there were several gas stations in B2 district for years. A lot of them closed, turned into just, repair shops and things like that. But I mean, you can start, you had Taos Station, right before the tracks.
And
No, but my point is, you keep saying that the council's gonna approve something that's not there, it's already there. John's Auto was a gas station, right? You can go up, the corner park was a gas station, right? It's been there.
Right. And
B2
so
is used for gasoline stations, I get that. I mean, but I just want the public to know that we're not making some major change here where there's no gasoline stations, we're not running any use of the corner.
yeah, and I've been told about what likely happened at some point. The zoning was probably changed because they took gasoline out of that zoning district. So right. At some point. So someone at some point made the effort to say, we don't want that there anymore.
I stand corrected.
I don't know when or when that changed, those changes happened. It's just what we have now.
I'm not ready to vote this night.
Anybody else?
No, I'm not ready to go on language change.
So I guess what I'd be looking for everyone to know is what kind of direction from us, what information can we bring to you guys to help you make a decision in the yay or nay?
Oh,
No.
may I,
Madam Mayor.
If you want the public, you could motion to open the floor if you want.
We have
someone to
public
speak.
hearing.
Yeah, and if you don't want anybody to speak, you don't have to have the floor.
I'll put a traffic study or something like that, Jeff, would that help with the?
It would help me a lot. I'd like to see it, hate to say it, guys, I mean, there's legit concerns here. I mean, we have to look, if what she's saying is accurate, I can believe our citizen is worried. If trucks are having a tough time already getting to that lot off of Saginaw, whether we gotta look and see, we'll talk about widening the street, different access. Does a light make sense there finally, to get traffic flow better?
That's all up to MDOT though.
Oh, right, I get that, but MDOT's definitely gonna be a part of this, right, so,
so that's, I guess that's
I would say, valid thoughts and concerns and issues. None of that's gonna get past MDOT. They're the experts. If they say it works, I have a tendency to believe them.
Well, I can tell you the light was better there before, and MDOT didn't agree with that.
why do we have to change it right now?
You don't.
We don't.
They can go on and keep doing their studies, right? And then we can see what comes back
Yeah.
from those studies and the proposal, and then decide if we want to change it after it goes back to the planning commission, is that correct?
We don't, tonight, we don't have a mechanism for you even to make that change tonight. This was just to discuss, and if you guys felt like you wanted to do that, then we would come back with that actual ordinance change. So tonight is more just discussing, hearing from the public hearing from you guys of what you need from us so we can bring it. If we do a traffic study, we probably kind of want to look at the entirety of B2 to see how that could accommodate future fuel stations as well. One, looking at how many lots I suppose could be 10,000 square feet even to meet that criteria.
See what all be affected.
Right.
by this language
Because because we obviously know what properties would be eligible that are within the B2. We would look at square footage, the likelihood of one property being legally combined to an adjoining to be big enough to create a fuel station. And that kind of gets to that point of, do we want to look at allowing that generally? I don't know how many properties it would really relate to in that corridor that meet that criteria of 10,000 square feet or something, however you guys want to set it. Just 10,000 square feet is the current language for the B3 and B4 where gasoline stations are currently allowed.
All right, did anybody else have any questions? Are you guys good?
Do you guys have any, do you want them to, Crystal, to bring you studies of anything like that?
I don't. I'd like to see, guys like I say are gonna make work. Her concerns, the whole 9 yards, right?
I think if it's okay with the commission, we'd be happy to do that. And it seems like where we are is you just table the agenda item that's on right now and move on, and we'll try to address further the traffic issues and get MDOT's input into it. I think for the first time, at least I have heard the light potential, the potential for...
Well, I'm not saying that makes any sense at all, I just don't know, if that's all right.
We don't either, but it's an idea. So give us an opportunity to expand on it, and essentially you don't need to do anything now.
The traffic study that was pretty much started already with their meeting with MDOT, so we can push forward on that. I think in between, I'd like to work on signage to get this posted, the no trespassing, and keep stop this from happening. And perhaps I'll talk with Chris, perhaps pull permits to get the fence built, so that there could be separation. That we like to be a good neighbor, so that would help the people next door.
And I don't think, Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to table it right now because it really wasn't on there for a vote, it was more discussion, or would you like me to table it?
I mean, it's listed as an action item. I think just for the formality of it, there's no action. You guys aren't prepared to take a vote tonight, so I don't think it's necessary to have a yay or a nay and vote it down. It sounds like what you would do if you were pushed into a corner. So maybe you tabled it for at least table that this time to be brought up within the next month.
Probably need more than that, actually, Grant.
I don't think there's any
We could notify Dan as to when we're in a position, because MDOT's not easy to get to respond right now. It's summertime.
So on the table, isn't it?
So no action, there's no vote or anything, so.
As long as I don't have a motion on the floor. And I'll ask you guys one more time. Is there a motion?
No, I think Scott said his piece and Rico said his piece, but there was no motion.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 2.
Thanks for your passion, all you folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. We heard you.
We'll move on to Mead and Hunt for annual service contract.
I can speak briefly, then if you have questions for Scott, that would be, minus this is our annual contract that helps us with our FERC regulations. It's similar to the previous ones. Their estimated cost is $22,000. I had in here, if council wanted to consider just if they want to approve the contract or the agreement to approve it to their estimated cost of 22, but maybe a not to exceed 30, just thinking of other potential costs that we may not know about, but it was just a suggestion to make it.
What was it last year, Dan?
Oh, it was right around that, I don't remember the exact.
22?
Yeah.
I'd like to keep it at the 22. That's
Yeah,
my
I
opinion.
would keep it at the 22, is just looking to, if you wanted to put a
We understand.
buffer in
And
it.
this isn't something you can't just say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
All right.
No, right.
Well, it wouldn't be just like spend beyond that, it'd be if something came up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bring it to you.
Do I have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, motion meet and hunt. FERC annual service contract be approved for an estimated cost of not to exceed $22,000.
Mr. Manini,
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Mrs. Blue.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to property purchase request on Old Crest Drive.
I kind of expected someone to be here, representing this, but this came, from Stevenson's Realty, one of their realtors. Actually, Ryan had this listing. This came from one of his realtors, for someone who wants to purchase it.
This person that owns the house next to it, right?
Correct.
They just built,
Yes. So,
and I think they want to have their daughter or something, but they can't afford it right now, so they just buy it.
yeah.
My problem with this is, I just don't want to, they're asking way too many stipulations when I read through that.
So the first thing is they were asking, the listing price is $19,900. Well, the listing price is $19,900. They're asking for $10,000. So that's a reduction right there. And my one concern with that first part is just we have other properties right there of very similar size, shape, value. If you lower this for 10, likely you're gonna have to look at those others in the same.
Well,
If I thought you could
They want
lower
more
it-
years and everything, no, we're not gonna change that.
And
I,
by the way, if we're gonna run water and sewer down there, it's gonna be for a whole lot more than one lot. And that lot price just went up, if you're gonna start putting facilities in, right? And they want us to reduce it by half?
Right, and they wanted to see if we are planned for running those utilities, which I'm not aware of a specific timeline or plan for that. And they do want to, extend that 2-year building to 3. Now Ryan, who he's our current realtor for this. His opinion is no, it's undervalued at the 10, and he wouldn't do it. Of course, there's concerns of it is a joint, and as Scott said, he did say he wanted to buy it for his kids or his daughter later on.
is there a motion? To accept or reject the bid?
Well, reject would be good?
Yes.
Yeah, I motion that we see property purchase Oak Crest Lot 2 be rejected.
Support.
Mr. Ferraro.
Yeah, that's a yes then? Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Mrs. Blue.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Manini.
Yes.
All right. We'll move down to, resolution, operating and capital improvements, the budget. Well, we don't have all the answers to this, and Grant would like it all done at one time. Right, Grant?
I think that's cleaner, ultimately. I'm not aware of any restrictions on doing it piecemeal, but I think that certainly could make it a little more complicated. So I think it's probably cleaner just to do it all at once.
We're not gonna meet the criteria of July 1 anyways, unless it's all done, right? So
We have to meet.
Well,
the
no,
budget.
I'm saying, this won't meet that criteria because it's not all completed.
It's not 100% complete.
Right.
So you were right.
Yeah.
Right? It all has to be complete by.
So let's get it done, special meeting, whatever, and finish it up.
Yeah, I mean, this first resolution is kind of all of it, which, the cable one we certainly didn't quite have right. And kind of as we discussed at that Monday workshop, our preference was to have the special meeting.
Yeah, that's what we said.
To give this, well, we do need those, make sure we have everyone's thoughts in order, what you want to see. So we'll build that in and then, again, push that out there for inspection. So when we get to that public hearing, there's no surprises.
The only thing left's cable, correct?
Yeah, assuming that everyone's still on board with what, all the other things we've been discussing. So,
Natalie, did you need anything done before that?
The city millage.
If you plan to raise the city millage, that's something that I need to know.
Because you have to bill that out.
Yes.
And as of right now, we do not.
we had no intent,
No.
we had no,
It wasn't our conversation.
no, we had no recommendations.
So I can just move forward as.
Thanks for giving me a heart attack, by the way.
Unless you would like us to.
Okay, sausage cake.
Like that one.
It's a good show.
It's the villages, I mean, it's all part of it. I mean, you could,
I noticed it doesn't say vegetables.
you know, it's just, yeah, it's part of, there's no separate, it's part of, it's mixed in with the rate resolutions and, the general fund one, it's several different places.
So do I have to do anything with that?
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if there's a reason why you couldn't motion to just keep the millage levy the same. It's been noticed, it's been published, it's for this public hearing, specifically the,
We would have to have it as a resolution separately.
we will have a resolution, but if you just wanted a motion that you intend, yeah, if you just wanted a motion to intend to keep it without increasing it, at least that would give us something official that we know it's not gonna, that she can move forward, and then we would have to have a resolution with everything else. I mean,
Maybe a resolution to keep our mills the same?
yeah,
You do.
yeah. I mean, it's part of the final budget, it's part of
Shouldn't have said
the
no, no.
rates, it's,
But we used to get it at a different.
I mean, trust this thing every time, apparently.
I'd say why not?
All right. I mean, it sounds like you're asking them just for some assurances that council's not gonna go sideways and try to raise millage or.
Correct. I mean, we haven't discussed
But
it.
it
we
doesn't
haven't
sound like there's been any
proposed it.
discussion or any.
No.
So,
I mean,
I-
In this budget year.
right, so I don't wanna derail anything that your plans or throw you off, but I don't, what's your timeline on having to notify anything officially at this point? For the millage, any changes in the millage?
Oh, very soon.
And I think Ray used to bring that millage to us.
well, because
Separate.
that's what I usually
Earlier.
have, we were
July
following
first.
kind of what we used to do, because I used to have
And I
resolutions.
send them to
for
Lux
village,
to get printed,
for general fund,
so.
for every individual fund.
No, we don't, but the
And
millage always came earlier, so they would know, be able to bill.
So you want us to make a,
Well, there's nothing, Ben, you guys can make a motion to reopen the agenda, add that to the agenda, but there's no resolution to necessarily set it, set it the same.
All we're looking for is just that,
I don't plan on changing.
Reassurance that we're not raising millages, pretty sure everybody understands.
right, that's been the discussion from day one. For this. We will move forward with that.
All right, let's move on.
That's 3 times that we've had obvious now.
I think it's internal. It's probably like AC turning on,
Okay.
but I can put a recorder on and check.
I think it's the power dam.
that's mine too. Well, it happens all the way down to my shop end.
It happens in your shop too?
Please pull it.
Okay.
Item number 5, Resolution 2023-10, General Appropriations Act.
Yeah, and that's your general fund. Which, we might as well just kind of talk about each one, just for preparing for the next one.
Because again, we're not doing these unless it's full, when full budget.
Yes.
We want to accept the full budget.
Yeah, well, we can at least just kind of, so. No changes were done in the general fund from the last several workshops. I guess I would just say, well, if there's any direction of anything in the general fund that anybody wants to make a substantial change that we can correct.
Does anybody have anything on that, or we'll move on? All right, we'll move on to major street, local street fund transfer.
This is the standard, we do it every year.
Item just a
Is that all part of the whole budget?
It's all part of the whole thing, yeah, these are all
Okay, then that,
these all stack on top of each other.
okay.
So, yeah, there's really nothing to change there, but we can just approve it with everything else at the next one. But we should at least kind of quickly just make sure that there's no,
Well, the next one ain't, because that goes with, so they can set the budget. Item number 7, pay rate non-union employees.
yep. That just, yeah, so this is the non-union, my position, chief and assessor follow, the standard percent for the.
And we did vote on that separately every year.
Yep.
Mhm. So, is there any questions on that? If not, is there a motion?
Make a motion resolution 2023-12, pay rate for non-union employees for 2023, 2024 be approved.
Support.
Is that Rico?
Yep.
Mr. Pop?
Abstain.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Scott, you abstained from that because, for summer help? Okay. Is that all right? Or you could have just not, yeah.
Better abstain.
Yep, okay. Item number 8, resolution 2023 general utility and service rate resolution. So we're not doing nothing with that either.
No, but we, that one, we kind of do need some direction. One, to make sure that all the rates that outside of cable that we've discussed are still, because that's what's in our budgets currently and will be.
Just for clarity, we've got 3 rate increases we're discussing, correct? And electrical isn't one of them, so we're good to go.
There's more than that.
Well, yeah, it's the sewage, the 75 cents per thousand.
The water.
No,
No.
refuse.
Oh, just
The-
sewage. Refuge. Oh, you're right.
the only things we were striking from this was eliminating the basic internet. That was the 1.5 down. We just talked about it being, it's an obsolete tier that causes more problems than anything, but we could just leave the basics where they are. We don't have to bump them up or charge them more. We just won't offer it to new people anymore, just because they come in and it's cheaper and they get it and they realize they can't do anything and they come back. So we were going to just eliminate that as an option. And the credit card convenience fee that we talked about before, how we are taking on those convenience fees that cost us about $22,000 a year, looking at not absorbing that anymore. And it's just the convenience fee for the customer using the credit card would be for the customer to pay. And the reason this 2% is crossed out is because we only were charging that when we had a card reader, which we don't have anymore. So we were having no longer charge 2%. And then yes, you have the garbage rates. Now the cable rates is what's in here that we haven't changed, and that's going to be the big one that we need some direction on, because that's going to.
Well, we gave it some direction. You want some more? We'll give you some more. I think we all talked about raising the video piece of it. That's the fairest thing we can do.
Yeah.
Again, if you want some type of service fee that's legit, either you have to tier it, or you have to keep it at a minimum.
Yes. So we were only going to do the fee, the cable cost is what we were going to do. It's just kind of what level did you guys want to get to? We built in 5 and 5, but if we're gonna,
I thought we were gonna take the 106 at 120. That's $14 a sub.
okay.
From my recollection of our budget meeting, and then we discussed.
I don't remember going to 120, but I know we said no service
I think
fee.
we had to, because if we took the service thing out, we had to go there.
And we said we had to do something for now until we make our final
And
decision.
I do believe that 120 was talked about when we stopped talking about that service fee.
Yeah.
Okay, and it could have
And
been.
I do believe that was,
And I know, Ken, you had, I think we had ideas with the township, right? It wasn't gonna go up X amount as well,
correct.
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, yeah, I think we were gonna go up just a little bit more than.
No,
Did
they're
our
already
ratio-
a little bit more.
They're already-
screwed up.
we just weren't
So
gonna
we're at
bring
25 or whatever we're gonna be.
Yeah,
right, something
we
like
just
that.
weren't gonna bring the city rates to match. We're gonna keep that
Correct.
disparity however far we.
Because of service calls and things like that, correct? And then you were gonna run the numbers and tell us if that was enough.
Right,
And
so.
that's what he got.
And that's what we have here. So to make up, the the 153 and just the rate, so taking city basic at 36 now will go to 52. Township basic 38 would go to 56. Extended city would go to 118.
There, yep.
And extended township would be 124. That would generate 159.
Of the 260, that were upside down.
Well, Natalie, remind me, because so, sorry, I'm looking at the 153, but we built in the 5 for
It's
that.
like 197.
Yeah,
Where we're at right now, we're not changing anything.
yeah. So you'd have to go even higher. You'd have to get to the highest we
We're
got.
about
in just-
$90,000 deficit, right?
Yeah, the highest we have in just rates, it gets us to 188. And that's 36 to 55, 38 to 59, 102 to 121, and 106 to 127.
And they get you to what?
It generates roughly 188, so still because the 153 is based on the 5, so it's 153 plus 48 is our total deficit with doing.
Yeah, I don't know, you know.
It's.
I don't wanna look at it here, but, and I get you to do it because it's the right way to do the accounting, but this whole thing is based off that pension, right? And we did it all in 1 year, right? We did it all in 1 year, and all this is a paper thing, because the 116,000 is back in electrical. They're not liable for it anymore.
Out of electrical.
Right, it's out of electrical, and we moved it to cable, and now we're looking at the sub-stud Eden in 1 year. I don't know if that's fair. You know, we're not paying more for TV at that point. Now we're just paying more for
Yeah,
pension.
you're adding that on.
Right, and we saved it in electrical, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, guys, maybe we should, I don't know. I'm just saying, I get it, it gets the books right, but I don't know that it's 100% fair.
We're not, the utility payers aren't paying for the service anymore. They're paying for something else.
Exactly.
But the other side of the coin is, all those years that they should have been paying for it, they weren't.
Absolutely correct.
Because, that's it sucks. It's
I mean, I'd rather see it.
how you wanna eat a, sandwich? A little bit at a time or one big bite, you know?
Well, but we're not lowering electrical rates, because we don't have $116,000 in liability there.
Well, not lowering, but maybe we're not
Well,
raising
no,
them
but-
as high as
okay,
we
no, that's
could.
apples to apples, right?
No,
No, it's not.
no, it's not apples to apples.
And we don't have to raise these rates right now to make up that whole, deficit, right? I mean, again, we're gonna have a conversation here about what we're going to do. This was, we can not increase it at all, and we know our deficit, we work within that, and hopefully we kind of figure out the direction we're gonna go, we can revisit it. We can increase it a little bit just to lessen that potential loss, but it's still a loss, potentially, again, it's not 100% guarantee that we'll spend all the expenditures in budgets, but these funds are especially cable's pretty tight out of other ones. So we can raise it to just lessen this potential year's loss as we evaluate the potential directions we go. Again, we've got
You got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, we got a couple offers that are coming here in July, and we also have the direction that we think we can take it if we keep it to be profitable and what that investment's gonna look like and all that. Right now, this is just a
Right.
We're trying to get,
I guess I'd rather go with the taxpayers and say, guys, hey, you know what this rate increase is? Because we're gonna make the system better, you know, down the line in a couple of
Right.
years, you know, for capital.
Well, and then
Instead of just
when you
mentioning
said
liabilities.
apples to apples, that ain't necessarily true because all our budgets are changing. Cause look what we're paying for supplies. They're almost double of what we were paying before.
I totally get it. All I'm saying is you're taking 1/16 out of one basket and putting it in the other basket. And I just want, you know, because that's what we did, right?
we did. We moved where things were supposed to be coming
I
from.
totally get it. I'm
And
not saying anybody did anything wrong.
Yep.
I'm just saying it's a big hard swallow right now.
It's a big hit
It's
all at
all
once.
right.
You have a large increase with really, nothing really
Yeah.
added.
Nothing tangible.
You know,
Nothing
so, you know, it's not easy, and if, you know, we have to eventually figure out a way to move forward. But again, we're gonna have a conversation here in the summer about potential offers for it, potential ways to improve it and move forward and be profitable. So we don't have to necessarily jack the rates up to break even right now. We do need an operating and just trying to lessen.
So your point, we get to 188, that gives us about a $19,000. Is it 19, or is that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to, right now, I mean, if you're concerned about just getting too high right away, we could go somewhere in between. We'll have to revisit it at some point.
But you have to balance budget, right?
We would borrow from fund equity.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, cable has about $500,000 in cash, that, again, that's typically there for, you know, emergencies, or if it's enough, you can start using for capital. We look long-term, if we move in a direction where we don't keep it, that money will, most of that or all of it will be part of the 800 that would pay off the bond. So, if we don't increase it at all and we do spend everything, yeah, that fund balance will take a $200-ish thousand hit. So again, trying to increase it somewhat to lessen that potential blow, or if we decide to go with our direction of keeping it, that's going to change this as well. So this budget right now, because we don't know the direction, it is a little bit of a stopgap before we actually know what we can do. You know, so I think we should increase it something to kind of lessen that potential loss, especially if we are going to find ourselves where whichever decision we make is going to take this entire budget. We need to consider that maybe revisit it. But
Yeah, I don't think cable needs to take a $200K hit right now, that's for sure. That'd eat up 40% of our reserves. We've got to do something.
Right.
again, we can change rates.
So how about 44, 48, and 100 and 114?
Where's that?
Half of that proposed. That was half of the, you guys were throwing around the numbers with the 52, 56, and what was it, 118 and 120 something? So fine, so go up half of it, go up $8 on each.
The increasing the 10 and 12 gets you 101. Increasing 8 and 10 gets you 82.
8 and 10?
Yeah, 8 and 10.
Okay.
So yeah, that's your
There,
36
I mean,
to
we want
44.
something in the middle more. There, that's right in the middle.
You want to take the time?
Yeah. So basic would be 44, township would be 52, 56, I'm sorry, 48, 44 and 48, correct? 8 and 10?
Correct.
Yeah. And then for extended, it would be 8, that's right, so it'd be 110 and 116.
Why are you only adding
I thought you said
a
8 and 10.
different number to the township?
Because that's what, you said 8 and 10.
Yeah, so in that scenario, your city basic 36 goes up 10, or goes from 8 to 44.
Because the township should pay more.
And then
It's just a ratio thing.
8 from 38, or 36 to 44, 38 to 48, 102 to 110, 106 to 116.
For the township? So they're higher than.
Yeah, so city 44, township 48, city 110,
Okay.
township 116.
What do you guys think about that?
Definitely have to see, have to see what the low rate is and come back with that number.
So, are you
Make
telling us?
sure that it's right and
Yeah, you're telling us that 79,122, it's gonna make up? Is that what that number is on the bottom there?
No, it'd be roughly 82, the top, the generate number, 82.
82,000, oh, right there, I see that, yeah, okay.
And these are estimates, these aren't gonna be, that exact revenue number isn't gonna be ever exact. This is just an estimate of what those rates based on what the current subscribers are, which can change.
Any thoughts?
It leaves us $134,000 late that we have to pull from the fund balance. When your fund balance is 500 grand, that's a big number. With a system that is going to need capital expenditures on it very, very soon.
We
It's
can't,
getting scary.
we can't be sitting here in the same spot in 6 months.
No.
We can't, in my opinion.
I know it's hard. I
We
would
have
say-
to make the investment and look at all this stuff and be competitive or not, in my opinion.
Right. And I
We,
think
we,
we'll know
we can't, we
more
can't
about-
do this every 3 months, every 6 months.
No.
Haggle over this stuff, these rates.
The problem with these funds are that there's not a lot of working around the operating costs for specifically for cable and internet.
I go with the big one.
And I can't tell you how perfectly, comparable, our like cable rates will be to other companies from channel to channel. Those.
Or our TV rates are still low.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
But
TV is low, internet's high.
we don't have the luxury of a larger.
Even with this rate increase, TV's low. Go ask a charter customer,
So did we come to consensus? Are we waiting until the special meeting?
I think
I would like,
if this stuff isn't figured out, it's gonna be really hard to have an accurate budget, or a balance, or anywhere
Right.
close to a balanced budget.
Right.
and it doesn't,
And-
again, it doesn't, if we can't get to a straight revenue to expenditure, that's okay. We just,
Well, the other side of it, so we got a big decision to make on the plan, come on. How are you gonna make the decision if, you still have rate increases that you should be doing that are hanging out there? Just saying. To Red's point, every 3 months you can do this, Rupert's point.
right.
That's what you're gonna, if you go half measure here, that's what you're gonna do. Because you're gonna get your report back on keeping the plant or selling the plant, right? And if you keep the plant, you're gonna go right back to the guys and say, guys, we get a rate increase because we have to have capital, the project's gonna do it.
And what data is gonna come in between now and then that's gonna make
Exactly.
these numbers look any better or different? Nothing,
None.
nothing.
Probably make it a little worse, by the way. We start buying fiber optic cable and copper cable and things like this.
So do I have a motion on where you wanna go with
he just was looking for direction. I think that was pretty clear that you raise the rates and use either capital or go up even higher to make the budget work.
Yeah, are you,
I think the direction here is we don't want to severely deplete that
No.
reserve because we
You
know
don't.
we have other things we need it for, right?
Yes, when the conversation started, use it for direction, raise rates, and maybe give them capital.
Yeah.
If we gave them that direction.
Yeah, give us.
Well, I'd like to give them something a little more solid than that.
Well,
if you guys just leaving it to me, then I will we'll put in one of these increases, and then if it balances, it does. If it doesn't, we'll borrow from fund equity, and we'll have that at the next meeting, and you're gonna have to approve it, because there's no time.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think we should give them more,
Yeah, I think you should.
more than that.
I mean, these numbers are our estimates for these increases. They're always gonna be estimates. You see the deficit, you see what it can do. If we don't balance, we borrow from fund equity like we've done
I'd say it's this or this.
on a lot of budgets, and you try not to get into that fund balance. It's not sustainable.
That's 30.
But this is the same conversation we've been having for a month.
Right, we gotta give you direction.
18 and 20.
Not just say-
Make the motion.
Right.
I would say it's this or this, because this is really like, you know what I'm saying, Ken? Because he's saying 216 is very even for us. This gets us 188, this gets us 178, this only gets us 159. So you can take an extra.
And there, again, there's a chance that you could be the end of the year and you haven't spent everything, and it's, you know.
Well, guess what? Then it helps us with our upgrades.
Right.
Or it helps us pay off the bond if it does get sold. Either way, it's not like it's money that's gonna be thrown away.
I mean, I'm a full subscriber to all this stuff, I mean, it's.
Yep.
Pay for more than they're all,
All right,
So since we're talking about rate increases, am I able to bring up one of the other ones?
not until we make a decision on this one. Unless it has something to do with this
Make
one.
a decision till a special meeting.
No, he has to have it for the budget. You can't just say to him, you make the decision. What direction do you wanna go in?
18 and 20 is the direction I wanna go in. 18 and $20 increase, 18%.
I mean, these are why we have all these workshops, is to
Make a
approve this
decision.
stuff.
All right.
I'm gonna make a pretty rude comment, and we'll stop there. I'm not the one that gets paid $100,000 to make this decision.
He doesn't get paid to make this decision. You get elected to make this decision. We're not giving him any direction, and then when he comes to us with a proposal, we're saying, well, that doesn't work.
Right, if you don't give him
Oh,
direction.
we'll talk about it next week. And then we wonder why nothing's getting decided upon. We don't get to sit back and say it's his fault. I didn't want to.
Absolutely.
We're the ones who got to vote.
Absolutely.
He's presented us with a lot of options,
Correct, he asked for a direction and we gave it to him.
and I think a more specific direction is appropriate. 18 and 20 is my direction.
I agree with both sides, actually. I know where Rep. Scott are coming from. You know the temperature on the council, Dan, so you know kind of where to go, but I also say, hey, if we can make it easier for you, let's
Well,
make it easier
yeah,
for you.
why are we gonna keep hashing it out? He comes up with something and we don't want it.
I think everybody here,
Done with
I'm not
the
speaking
budget.
for everybody, but I think we've all agreed that we don't want to deplete the fund balance in a year or two in cable, right? So that should give you a lot of direction right there, knowing what the fund balance is. If that's fair to say.
It is fair to say, but then when he makes the decision to do it,
Then we have to vote yes for it because there's no time.
exactly, and you're laying it in his lap.
Agree with that as well, Ken? Yes, I'm with Mr. Minigini. I'm for the 18 and 20 or the 19 and 21. I'd like to see what the deficit's gonna be for those. I think it's palatable. And that's the sad part. No matter what we pick, it's a deficit, right?
All right, Scott, you can go ahead now with your question on the other utility.
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize for not making it to the other meeting that was there. My daughter was in the hospital, so I could not attend to it. But
Sure,
I'm
sure.
very upset about the rate increase in our sewer department. We saved $21,000 last year for credit. We brought on a full-time employee, which 3 years ago, we eliminated a position there because we could not afford it. And then, was it 6 months ago? The department came to us begging, came to the job sites that I was working on, begging, because he needed, promised we wouldn't have to raise the rates. No, the rates are good for a couple of years. You know, we'll have to do something in the future. We have the state-of-the-art building that we put millions of dollars into. We brought a full-time person in there. And now, we have to raise rates. I do not agree with that at all. At all. We just be limited in a position here because we couldn't afford it. That's my piece.
Anybody else have anything on the utility service rates right now? Okay, we'll go to number 9. Change of the July 3rd meeting. We have enough people?
Change to, change from?
Change from, we're thinking, because it's, you know, the eve of the 4th, people might be taking long weekends out of town, things like that.
I'll be here.
I'll be here. I'll be here.
Okay.
No, it's just me. Okay, keep it on 3rd.
Yeah, we can leave it, and then, do you want to set the date of the special meeting?
Grant, can we continue the public hearing? Is what it sounds like we've done in the past.
We can have another public hearing, but we can't.
I think with the budget, the important part of the budget is getting notification, everything is out there for people to comment on, and for them to come, comment, discuss, hear, discuss, provide input.
It can be too late for that.
I mean, that was what tonight was.
Yeah, we had a.
Right.
yeah,
We
I'm
still
just
have to
saying,
have a public hearing.
Right.
It's whether we can continue it or post it. We posted we would do it tomorrow for 6 days from now.
I think post it, why not, why take the risk?
And
Hold it.
what date are you looking at? Next Monday? Is that what you're saying?
There'd probably wouldn't be Monday, because we have to do 6 days. So it'll probably be Wednesday or Thursday or Friday.
Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? Well, I don't pick Friday.
I can do Wednesday, you
We
can.
might be able to do it Tuesday.
Tuesday?
If we can get it published, Trish, how quickly do they publish? If we get it to
I
them
don't-
tomorrow morning.
I mean.
If you get it out here right away, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get in the paper,
We need 6 business days?
Dan.
Dan.
I'm not gonna get in the
Any
daily.
hiccups, so we can't go.
But we can just, we'll put it on the web and we'll put it on the, we'll post it.
I'll take the publisher.
It will not get published till probably Thursday or Friday if I send it tomorrow morning.
It's the day we use.
I'll just send you on the safe side.
Right. But do we have to even have another open hearing on them? We never did that before.
Absolutely.
Right.
To schedule the second.
Yeah, Candy, I looked back, we always, the June meetings, we'd always continue the public hearing to
Yeah, I know.
the next special.
Post it on the web, post it out front.
For what day? Brett's not here 28th, 29th, 30th.
For what time?
Well, I can make the 20th.
You just want to do the Monday? If we're,
But you ain't got your 6 days,
well,
or doesn't it matter?
that's for,
For open meetings, be 48 hours.
Oh, okay. You guys want to do it on Monday then?
What time? 7, 6, 7?
I don't know, you want to do it earlier? I can't do
I'd
it
love to do it
3.
earlier, yeah. Yeah, Monday, I can make Monday at 3 work, if you can't, Ken.
I will try to see if I can get somebody to watch Jackson. Mm-hmm.
What time is it usually?
Tammy's usually there by 4:30.
About 4:30? Earlier, better for me.
I can make, oh yeah, Monday's 4:30 is good.
We would have baseball.
We ain't getting around that, so.
Have another one.
Unless you want to do 3 and I can try
No,
to find some.
no. That's why there's 5 of us. 4:30, Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trish, reminders that
June 26th?
Pardon me?
Reminders, please.
And what is this officially titled?
Special meeting.
Special name of budget approval.
Special meeting.
For budget approval. All right.
We're not gonna make anything else on that agenda, right? That's good.
All right, council comments? Scott?
Yeah, I agree this week, it's gonna be a warm one. So you're gonna lose.
Brett?
I have nothing, thank you.
I'm good, man, thanks.
No comment.
I have nothing tonight. Staff?
I,
Nothing.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.